Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of October's Weird Tales. When viewing the internet, there is many, and I mean many, tales about people working in retail. And yes, many of these tales are weird. Often or not, these tales circle around that one particular customer. The one customer that ruins your whole day. You know, the customer that complains that the item is damaged due to their own negligence. Or they insist they give you a free item because they had to wait a few minutes while you filled out another person's order. And of course, let us not forget about the occasional scam artist who is posing as a customer. But today, I am going to tell you a specific story about the time I got a prank phone call while I was at work. Tale which I like to call the annoying prank phone call. It was near the end of the day, and the business for which I was employed was only going to be open for a few more hours. That business, of course, was a bakery, and I was in charge of the night shift, which essentially was taking orders and cleaning up and making sure everything was turned off before I left. Since this was the night shift, I, of course, was closing by myself like most nights. So the bakery was completely empty, me being the only employee there. In the bakery, we had a phone that was attached to the wall for which customers could call in and place their orders. And of course, many people would call in at the last minute trying to place their order, demanding that we make them their cake that day or the day after. Of course, as always, I would say, sorry, but we can only take a cake within 24 hours notice. So when I heard the phone ringing before we closed, I didn't think much of it. I then picked up the phone and said the usual shtick about the company I work for and how I could help them. After I had said this, the person on the other end of the phone then asked for somebody, I think their name was Drake. This, of course, wasn't too unusual, because people would often call in and ask for managers and ask to speak to specific bakers. But being a closer, I was the only one there. Also, there was nobody who worked there that had that name. Being polite as I could be, I then responded, "I'm sorry, but there is nobody here by that name." They then acted incredibly rude and then claimed I was being dishonest or something, and that there was somebody there of that name. Whatever. Not seeing any reason to continue the conversation because clearly they weren't there to order anything, and clearly they weren't looking for anybody who worked there. So, of course, I hung up the phone and continued closing down the store. The phone then rang again, and I picked it up doing the same shtick I did before. It was, of course, the same person doing an offensive fake accent, claiming they were looking for the same person named Drake. Since the person was obviously being generally disrespectful to both me and whoever they were trying to impersonate, and since we were about to close anyway, I figured, let's have a little fun with them. After all, they obviously want to have a conversation, or else they wouldn't have called back. So instead of telling them that there was nobody here by that name, I then looked at the caller ID because, every phone has a caller ID, so I don't know why they didn't think I could do that. I then read back the number to them, asking them, "Excuse me, is this," reading off the phone number to them exactly, while trying to maintain their terribly offensive fake accent, which they didn't do very well. They then exclaimed, "Yes, why?" What I said to them in an incredibly calm voice was, "I just added your number, and also due to the similarities of this number, I was able to look up your parents' number, and I've also added both your numbers to our blacklist." They then went completely quiet for literally 5 minutes, and straight up asked, dropping the phony accent, "What does that mean?" It was at that moment that I knew I had them, and their little prank was about to turn into a major nightmare for them. Being as serious as I could, I told them, "When this number calls, we will not pick up. If your parents ever call, we will tell them that they have been placed on a blacklist and we will no longer be accepting their orders." And when they ask why, we will tell them exactly why they were put on a blacklist. After I had told them this, there kind of was this gap where I thought they might have hung up, but then I heard all this murmuring and sounded like people were arguing and kind of freaking out on the other end of the phone. Then after all this bickering and arguing I heard on the phone, finally somebody answered. Somebody else picking up the phone, literally freaking out, saying, we were just kidding, please do not put our parents on a blacklist, and please do not tell them we prank called you. And it's just, they were just freaking out. It was so pathetic. I mean, seriously, they like broke down or something, and they were just begging me, and I mean begging me not to put them on a blacklist. So the final thing I said to them was, do you promise to never call the store ever again? For which they replied, yes, and then I hung up on them, and never heard from them ever again. Before anyone asks, I want to say, no, the store I worked at doesn't have a blacklist. I completely made up the thing. And to this day, I wasn't really sure what the context of their prank was. Were they just calling to be annoying? Were they trying to get content for a blog or a YouTube video? I don't know. I don't know. To this day, I have no idea what the point of this call was. Nor do I really care. To be honest, I'm still surprised that I got away with this and the prank phone callers bought this. I guess the moral of this story is, don't prank people because you never know when you'll be pranked, maybe? I guess the other moral is, working retail is hard, so always be respectful to those who have to do it for a living. And don't be a jerk to them. Thank you for listening to our story. Do you have any weird tales about working in retail? Have you ever received a prank phone call while you were at work? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you soon. Hey, if you enjoy our content, maybe you would like to help us support our channel. Every little bit helps. I would also like to give a special shout out to the amazing artist who did the extraordinary character stills we used in this video. The ever incredible Bleptarts. Definitely check out their artwork if you get the chance. Also, if you're interested in the flittering thoughts that go upon in my brain, consider following us on Blue Sky. And thank you once again for your support.